Good morning, everybody. And actually here today in Florida, I went out for my walk around 8:30. It was 51 degrees and quite windy and gray. So not experiencing our usual day of sunshine and heat, but that will happen all too soon. So we're very happy to have the change today. I'm very glad to be with all of you, and hopefully in another couple of weeks be back into the church itself, or our services, and that will be lovely as well. But I wanted to talk to you today about thoughts that came to me a couple of weeks ago, and maybe by your smile or your nod or a thumbs up, I'll find that everybody has gone through these things before and that you move through it and how you move through it. But a few weeks ago, I was having a very strange kind of imbalance. And when I say that, I don't mean where I was falling down or hitting myself falling down or anything like that, but just not feeling that thought of homeostasis or balance within the body. And it started out by couple of different things happening. Walking into the bed frame in my bedroom on an average of 3 times a day, banging a knee, stubbing a toe, just not feeling anything other than discord and imbalance within my body, mind, and spirit. And as spiritualists and people who find our way through coming to our spiritual center and through our spiritual practices, I was in that thought pattern of what is going on. And this has happened to me a number of times. It's not a new experience, like, okay, and I'm saying to myself, Lynn, what is going on? Do you not like your knees? Do you not like your feet or your toes? What is it? And obviously, when we read things about banging our feet or having problems with our feet, it's usually because we're not moving forward. So, okay, that's a possibility, maybe needing to move forward in different ways. But after those couple of days of feeling that imbalance in the body, which was affecting the body, mind, and spirit, whether it was the mind that came first or the issues with the physical of the banging of the feet and the knees, it was a day that I said to myself, okay, you can't endanger yourself any further. So sit in a chair and try to figure out what's going on. So I happened to turn on the TV saying, this is a safe space. Maybe I'll just watch some movies, or I'll watch something on TV, or I'll do some exploration on my iPad and come up with some ideas of what's going on. Because as I said, as spiritualists, I believe we are seekers of the truth. We are on a journey to find the best way to maneuver this lifetime. And we are people who are looking for transformation. So when you're in a state of bringing yourself into an imbalance, the best thing to do is to find out how to balance again. So the first thing that came to me, and this is always how it works for me, as I sat in that chair in my bedroom, basically locked in the room thinking, I'm of less harm to myself here, and I'm probably nicer if I'm not confronting anybody in my household right now. I turned on Prime Video, and so that's Amazon. And I turned that on, and immediately came up a documentary called Heal. And I sat there for, I think it was an hour and 15 minutes, fascinated by the fact of certainly how we know through all of our practices that what we think and what we say does have an impact on our body. So that was not a new thought for me. I did know that, even though knowing all that, I can go into my very negative head sometimes, which I assume we all can. So that was something that calmed me down as I listened to it, reinforced that our thoughts do impact our health and our well-being. And so it was a good thing. It was a good experience as I sat calmly in the room. That wasn't enough to get me out. That day felt like a day of needing to just sit and not do anything more than sit. I don't like when that happens to me, because I feel like there's so much more I want to do, or, the word should be doing, but it was a sit day. The next documentary that came up, and they just were flowing into each other, was called grounding. So there was one called heal, one that was called earthing, and another one that's called grounding. And the things that came to me during that time were also practices that I've done before, because I've had many, many wonderful healers work on me or tell me things over the years that I've put into my practices. But the first thing I realized is, even though I go out for my 3-mile walk every day and, I see nature or whatever, I really wasn't grounding myself to Mother Earth. And it's apparent to all of us that even though we do love to see nature, we're not interacting with nature really the way we were meant to, or even the way people did many, many hundreds of years ago. We're not working the land in the same way. We have somebody who comes and gardens here, so my hands are not in the soil. But it was very impactful to listen to first two things that came about with the grounding and earthing documentaries. In the 1960s, when rubber was invented, if that's what you want to say, and people's shoes became rubber-soled sneakers and rubber-soled leisure shoes and all these different things, there went the leather shoes that were all natural that we used to wear all the time, because that's what was available at that time. And now all of our activities are always done in shoes that have rubber soles. And the scientist who was investigating a lot of this said, when that happened, there went our grounding to earth. Nobody basically walks around barefoot anymore. I mean, I do in my home, and now I've been trying to push myself out the door and walk on our driveway more barefoot and on our lawn. But, for the most part, for those of you who are up north, it's too cold to be doing that. And it's not something that maybe you fit into your day. But this one gentleman did this little experiment where he went outside onto Mother Earth, and he had a grounding wire, and he stuck it into the ground. And at the other end of the grounding wire was a button that lit up. And as he was standing there and he pressed the button lit up for him. He was barefoot at the time. And he was talking about the grounding effects of Mother Earth to his body at that point. He had a young man that was standing next to him that was wearing sneakers, only maybe not even 6 inches away from him on the ground. He hands him the grounding button, and the young man presses it, and it does not light up. He then puts his hand onto the young man's shoulder, and it lights up, which shows you that the effects of grounding from this one person was able to ground the other person. So in hearing that, I realized that that's probably really true. We're not taking all from Mother Earth that we need to take to be healthier, happier human beings. And as this documentary goes on, it talks more about how this isn't only affecting us physically, but it is affecting us physically, but it's affecting with depression and different anxieties, because we're not getting that, what they call the electrons from the earth. So that was very, very interesting. And at times he talks about different ways that he tried to ground himself. Then I went to the next movie that was also, this one was called Grounding, the documentary. The other one was called Earthing. And this gentleman lived in Alaska and had pain throughout his whole body. Everything was very physical in his life, and there were pains in his back and pains, in his legs, everywhere. And for some reason, he started thinking about earthing and grounding. And he went out to shovel the snow off of his house, and there were a couple of feet of snow. And he dug underneath one area of his property. There was like a little roofing. And he dug it out, and he actually went down to no clothes on, and he lied on Mother Earth, and he actually kind of covered himself with dirt. And he lied there for like 20 minutes. And when he got up, he noticed that his back was feeling better, his legs were feeling better. And he said, okay, this is obviously, I calmed myself down, it's a temporary thing. But further investigations between him and himself and other doctors and investigators of this type of scientific thinking, got to the point where he was now bringing this type of healing to other people who had been in chronic pain for years, who had sat in wheelchairs, who just really did have no energy, people who suffered with anxiety. And this started, again, it was another hour documentary, whatever. This started to really prove that the connection to Earth really does bring around major change. And that's because what's going on in our bodies, and I'm speaking for myself, not necessarily for all of you, is what's called chronic inflammation. And with chronic inflammation, of course, if you go to doctors, and I totally support doctors, but if you go to doctors, it may be medication that they're suggesting or different things that maybe your body doesn't assimilate with. But instead, what they did was try to ground people. They even went as far as there were grounding mats, grounding blankets, grounding sheets, and they were bringing them across places in Alaska, also into California, and allowing people to experience day after day what it was like to lie on these blankets or be grounded with their feet on these mats. And people did notice differences in their body mechanics, in the way they moved, in the way their energy was, in their moods. It balanced their moods. So, okay, is it a placebo effect that people are saying, well, this is going to make me feel better, so I feel better? Well, I guess there's always that involved, and it can be. But in this circumstance, it was happening time after time that people who were dealing with these mood changes and these really chronic body issues were feeling better. So that really made me thinking of the things that years ago certain practitioners would say to me. And I respect these people because, they have their plans on how they're going to help people. I have a wonderful naturopath up in New Jersey who has led me through a lot of things. And I would say to her, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I'm spinning out of control. Now, was it a anxiety? Was it a physical thing going on? It probably was a combination of things. And I remember once being in her office and she said, stay where you are, close your eyes, and I want you to turn 3 times clockwise. Keep your eyes closed and let your body center itself back into polarity, into that state of polarity. And I remember doing that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so different. Well, a couple of weeks ago, when I was having this moment of imbalance or spinning out of control, I did that, and I was tipping, and you face north when you're doing this, and I was tipping forward so far that if I didn't have a good sense of balance, I would have been probably bending onto the floor, which showed me the imbalance going on in body, mind, and spirit. The reason I'm bringing this to all of you today is because I think it is really true. I think our highest and best self is served when we realize how important this energy from the earth is to us. What a difference it can make in our personalities, in our, in our energy, in our feelings of peace and tranquility. And yet, how many of us really spend any time during the day? Ken and I are retired, so we have the opportunity to be out more. But, we go and we do our activity, and then we come back in the house because a lot of times it's 85 degrees out, the humidity's at 92%. But even wherever you are, how often are you out there walking, like people used to say, and touching a tree, or taking your shoes off and standing on the ground? And it was pointed out in one of these documentaries that when we're children, our parents are, more carefree most of the time about, how they're raising us. So we could be out running in our diaper or maybe no clothes on the lawn. We could be running barefoot, and you hear those happy children and the laughter and the the connectiveness to the earth. And I thought about that. Now, obviously, I'm not running around naked out here in Florida, and neither are you in whatever location you're in. But somewhere along the way, we have lost that connection, that energy to the earth. And because of that, there is more health issues going on. There is more suffering going on with emotional, emotional upheaval, if that's what you want to call it. So I realized that those are important things to start thinking about. When the weather is warm and you can go to the beach and you can walk on the sand, and you remember how that makes you feel, because a lot of you I know do go to shore points. You know how you feel. You feel at one with the oceans, or with the water, with the earth, with the air and the sky. You feel different. But when you're sitting in your offices or you're sitting in your house, and all of the noise, which is, we need vibrations, but the noise from the news and the trucks passing by, which have their own form of vibrations, we're not finding our connection to where we need to be, which is earth. So with that, I had listened to all of that. Like I said, one was called the Healing documentary, and that was about your connectiveness to just well-being because of your thoughts and feelings. The other ones were about grounding. The other ones were about earthing, digging in the dirt, planting your plants, just making that connection. So I felt like there is something really, really valid to that. And so I did go out, like I said, walk barefoot and do all those things. The other thing that happened was down not too far from where we live, there is an adult education meeting, a group of people that meet there, and they have different courses. And the other thing that was interesting was a music class that talked about how music heals, again, body, mind, and spirit. And it heals not because it's only soothing in the things that you listen to, because there was rock music that we listened to, there was opera music we listened to, there was spiritual music we listened to. It's the vibrations that come from the music, the pitches, the sounds, the basses, that bring vibration of healing into the body. And as I sat there, I realized that really those are the medicines that we need to start feeling healthy again. It's that listening to frequencies and the vibrations from the sounds. And even I noticed lately, a lot of times when I go out and walk, I put earbuds in my ears and I'm listening to a story or whatever the case may be. And lately I've been like, no, I'm not going to do that. I need to listen to the birds. I need to listen to the wind through the trees, because something needs to put me into that state of balance again. So my question, I guess, to all of you is, do you get that feeling at times of spinning out of control? And maybe that's a harsh way of putting it, because you're not truly spinning, but you feel chaotic, or you feel the anxiety coming in and you're saying to yourself, I didn't do anything different today than I did the other day. I know for me, I react very different to barometric pressure. And here in Florida, the barometric pressure and humidity can change at a moment's notice. It can be, 43% humidity and barometric pressure, at 29.97, and then all of a sudden it's way up or way down. And all those things do play havoc with our body. With barometric pressure, if it goes lower than, I think, 29.10 or something like that, or 0.07, your body starts to feel like that turbulence of a storm coming on. And I'm not saying this is for everybody. And if it goes higher, like 30.12 or something, that's usually clearing up, clearer skies, whatever the case may be. But it's still a fluctuation that puts pressure on the body. Again, how do we take care of all this? And it's kind of lengthy in saying this, but it all really stems back to finding balance with Mother Earth, because we have let go of that. And finding that peace and finding that serenity that comes from being on this earth, but being grounded to this earth. And I know for those who are Reiki, who practice Reiki, that are in the center, and those of us on Zoom, we have our symbols and we have our attunements and we use our Reiki symbol for grounding. And I do that all the time. And sometimes I do that without any other symbol because I'm like, okay, I really, really need this. But in order to find our best selves, in order to find our inner peace, in order to keep our selves in a place of happiness and finding that, I think it's centered, feeling of centered, I feel that it is the earth that is going to do that for us. So I just wanted to share that with you, that day of bumping every body part and banging the knees and hurting the feet made me realize that I wasn't really utilizing all that's out there for me. And last night it was 9 o'clock at night, and I said, okay, I went out for my walk today, but I'm going to go out barefoot and I'm going to look up at the sky and the stars. Moon was not out, and I'm going to find that peace through earth. The only thing is, it is mating season for the alligators here in Florida. So as you're walking out the door, you're now barefoot, especially, you're now going, okay, let me look under the 2 cars that are on the driveway, make sure no alligators are there. And let me go onto the grass and make sure there's no little bugs or snakes. But besides that, and I'm making a joke of it, it's important for all of us to do this, especially those of you that are working by computers all the time, that are really not finding your way outdoors. I think that you have to do a self-examination and find out if even the coldest day, a walk on a beach or standing on the ground barefoot or walking a little short distance will help you to feel more in line with what we want to feel, which is a complete body, mind, and spirit overhaul. And that's how I feel about it. And even better, if you want to take some music out the door with you and listen to the vibrations at times. I think all of these things are really, really helpful. But I wanted to share the name of those documentaries with you because if you're all feeling in homeostasis now, I am completely in awe of you and happy for you. But if at times throughout your journey, you're feeling that you're not in balance, you're not feeling the balance. I mean, sometimes I go out for a walk and I'm a pretty good walker and I can feel I'm moving from one side of the sidewalk to the other. Obviously, something is not in balance. So if you at any point have these feelings that, okay, something is not quite right in the connection of my body, mind, and spirit, then those are some things that you can look into, and also ways of grounding yourself to the earth. And, we all need to find the peace. I think that's what it's all about. And I know that I try to think each and every day, oh, what will bring me the greatest amount of happiness and joy today? And I think when I answer that question for myself, it's about feeling in balance. Body, mind, and spirit in balance, because there are days my body is okay and my mind is chaotic, and then there are days that my mind is the opposite scenario. So that was what I wanted to share with you today, is that please find what works for you as far as training, if you can say training your brain, body, everything to work together for your highest and best good. But know that Mother Earth, the sky, the air around us, the ground, everything works for us. Everything works in sort of like synchronicity to give us back what we need, but we just have to pay attention to it. And the banging, like I said, of my knees, my toes, I have black and blues all over my toes at this point. And that wasn't from walking barefoot. That was from being in the house and just not feeling that balance. But try finding Earth again. Try finding this planet in the way that it best helps you to be yourself at your best. And that's what I'd like to leave you with for today.